What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Big 3 Thursday. Now, I know I'm a little late on this, and I know I'm not in my office right now. I'm actually walking out to work. Well, I'm walking through the skyways, killing some time before I have to go to work. But you get the picture. Now, if you remember last week, we were talking about the big 3 reasons why I decided to become a photographer and a YouTuber. But this week, I'm going to inform you guys on the big 3 different ways that you can be a street photographer. So let's say that you got inspired by the work that I put out, the POV street photography videos. Well, those aren't the only ways that you can be a street photographer. I'm going to get into it. So, first things first. This and all of the big 3 Thursday videos, this is not a ranking in any kind. This is not a top 3 video. This is simply informing you guys of the main primary 3 ways that you can be a street photographer. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let me tell you. First, the 3 different ways you can be a street photographer, in my opinion. Since being a street photographer is a very open-ended title, I'd say that slow. I would say that the first different style of street photography is passive street photography. Now, passive street photography is primarily what I do. I go around, I'll take photos of architecture or street life, interesting looking people, cool scenes and stuff like that. I personally think those are very cool. If I see somebody interesting, I'm not going to go and bother them. I'll simply take a photo and I'll leave it at that. It's very passive, it's not aggressive, and it doesn't disturb anybody's day. And it keeps my photos looking candid, which is what I like the most. I like the candid photos that I get. Now, primarily speaking, candid photos are my jam. And in order to get candid photos, you gotta make sure you're not bothering anybody. Because if you bother people, then it's not candid anymore, it's composed. And if somebody does end up seeing you while I'm taking a photo, then one of 3 things happens. Either they're going to go on about their day, they're not really gonna care very much, they'll see it, but they'll just keep on walking. Other times, people will they'll see and they'll be like, hey, that photo turned out pretty good? I'll be like, yeah, it did. They'll be like, awesome. And even sometimes they'll be like, hey, can I get that photo? And they'll be like, absolutely, and I'll send it to them. And then on the very rare occasion, there'll be the people who are like, don't take photos of me. You can't do that. And they'll get very aggressive about it. I've even had some people follow me through the skyways. It gets kind of crazy. So you gotta be watching out for those kinds of people. And definitely don't be those kinds of people. Again, primarily speaking, doing the passive street photography is what I enjoy. And if you ever see a POV street photography video, that's what that looks like. Alright, so to talk about the second different style of street photography, it's kind of cold out here. It is what I like to call intrusive street photography. Now, when I say intrusive, I don't mean like, you're bothering everybody, but you are interrupting people in the world to get a very composed photo. It's completely different than the first style, which is candid. You're not going around bothering. This one, you are actively going around and talking to people, being extroverted, and asking if they want a photo of themselves. Now, this got made more popular because of social media, and this makes for great short-form content. There's a dog barking at me. So if you go around, you see videos, the TikToks, the YouTube shorts, the reels and all of that, where people are going around and they say, hey, you know, I'm a street photographer and I go around and I take really interesting photos of people, and I was wondering if you wanted a photo. They're free. Here's my Instagram. And at times it can get a little aggressive where, you know, it really does feel like they're like, hey, let me get a photo of you. Stuff like that. But if you're very chill about it and you're very polite, because that's the right thing to do, we don't want to be rude to people, then it's fine. You get really interesting photos of people. They're composed, of course, and some people might even say that it's not street photography. But like I said, it's an open-ended statement. It's an open-ended title. So that's not for me. I'm not that extroverted all the time where I can go around to strangers and be like, hey, you look interesting, can I take a photo of you? I'm not that guy. I wish sometimes I was, but I'm not. But if you feel like you could be that person, by all means, just be nice about it. Well, I'm back from work. Got to talk about the third and final way of street photography before I get home. Stand under this light, so I got some decent lighting. So, the third and final way to do street photography is what I like to call intrusive photography. Now, this one isn't very popular in the sense that the method is not ideal. So the reason why I call it intrusive is because it takes the passive and the intimate styles of photography and takes the worst parts and puts it into one. And this was made primarily famous because of a photographer whose name is Bruce Gilden. And he goes around, he's a New York photographer, and he would go around with a flash in one hand and a camera in the other. And he would fire off the flash when he takes a photo, when he walks past some strangers. And he would take a photo, and technically it would be candid, but it would be so distracting that it would bother people. To the point where he almost got into a couple of fights with people. In fact, I think he did get into a couple of fights with people. But the result of those photos is what made it quote-unquote famous, basically. Kind of saying that the ends justify the means. And personally, I don't agree with it. I think that if you go about disturbing the peace with your work, it gives photographers a bad name, which is not ideal if we want to keep doing the things that we do, such as street photography. So if you wish to do, you can go check out his work and, you know, see for yourself if you believe that the ends justify the means. He's got documentaries on him. He's got all the different things, and if I can find some, I'll link them in the description. But I had to bring that one up because it is a controversial one. Most people, or at least me personally, we don't agree with the way he does street photography, but there are people who believe that the ends justify the means, and that the photos being good enough make it okay to do those kinds of things and go that far. But like I said, to each their own. I'm back home. Back home from work. Work's pretty good. Nobody asked, but ain't no thing. But anyway, those are the three different styles of street photography. You got passive, where you're taking more candid photos. You got your intimate, where you're going up to people, you know, asking them politely. If you can take photos of them, you get really interesting content. And the intrusive, which doesn't ask and just does it, which can be seen as very disrupting. I'm not going to say which one's better, which one's worse. I know which ones are for me. I don't know which ones are for you. So if you want, you can go and you can try whichever ones you want. It's up to you. But I always say to give it a shot. But that said, that will be the end of this video. I will be leaving you guys with a question, as I would like to. And that question being, what are you going to do to make your work and yourself stand out. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this video. It's been great talking to you guys, and I will see you guys next Thursday. I do have another video coming out, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. If you found this video inspiring or helpful in any way, make sure to leave a comment below and, answer the question, of course. Otherwise, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that way you will be known when the next Big 3 Thursday video comes out. It has been a pleasure as always. I will see you guys in the next one. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't freeze. Good grief. Bye. Oh, that was a terrible sound. Never again. Anyway.